right. Well, good morning. Possibly to some of you. Good afternoon. Welcome to another Tech Tuesday. Michael and Israel here with Box Island. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments. I've got one that I pulled. Somebody posted in the comments on YouTube after last week's about Skeeters. So we'll jump into that. But guys, how you doing? Hope you're having a good week. Let me know if you got any audio issues. Give me a thumbs up. And if you don't mind hitting the share button, that'd be awesome if you've got a second. How's your Monday, Tuesday going? Or second Monday, double Monday?
Double Monday. It's been busy. I've been stretched out pretty thin today. So
Well, that's not good.
no, it's fine.
Well, I'm glad you had time to come and answer some questions. So, guys, anything marine related? Now, if you're watching this on a shared post, then you've got to actually come into the Bucks Island post and drop your comment in there so that it comes into the system so I can see it because we're going to Facebook and we're going to YouTube. That's every now and again somebody will drop a comment on the shared post, and then I don't see it until after, but we always get to it next week.
Right.
All right, first one. Wow, hold on. Let me shrink that down some. Well, there we go. What's the prop? What prop are y'all seeing the best performance out on the show?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're running the show on. So I'm just going to throw the Skeeter out. I guess the best one on Skeeter that I've seen mostly is going to be just the regular SHO prop 25. You know, sometimes 26 if it's cooler outside. So I've actually seen some Mercury props like a Bravo 1 run pretty good on some of the ZXRs.
He's saying a Skeeter FX21.
FX21, probably going to be a SHO 25.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything different as we get into the colder months?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to run a 26 if you fish winter tournaments. You should be able to run a 26 pretty good.
How much performance difference would you expect out of that one?
Probably a couple mile an hour. Yeah.
All right.
You could see more. Some of the newer FXs seem to wake up in the wintertime, so you could see 4 or 5 mile an hour difference in
the whole shot gonna be about the same, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you get a little more grip in the wintertime anyway, and the air's got a lot more oxygen in it, so you end up having a little bit more horsepower. They like the horsepower.
So obviously we talk mainly bass boats around here because that's 87% of the boats that we sell and have coming here for service. But on another like a center console or I mean obviously pontoon boats a whole other story.
Yeah.
But putting a show, what difference would that make in terms of the pitch of the prop and all that?
Well, depending on the weight of the boat, and there's a lot of props out there, a lot of aftermarket ones and stuff. But if you're running Yamaha, even on a pontoon, I mean, they've got a specific prop for that. So you'd run like a saltwater series prop.
Okay.
On some of these smaller, some of the smaller Avids, little center consoles, they'll run a Talon too.
Okay.
And it's usually, on the saltwater series, on the pontoons, you're running anywhere from a 16 to sometimes a 15, but 15 all the way up to 18.
Okay.
And then the Talons, those little smaller boats, you'll be running like 19, 21 pitch props.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We got a hand wave.
And versus the aftermarket stuff, it's those Yamaha props are going to usually run a little bit better, more efficient.
Okay. So you're pretty much a fan of sticking with Yamaha across the board.
Yeah, and Mercury. I mean, I'm not afraid to use a Mercury prop on the Yamaha.
Okay.
And vice versa. Typically those two run pretty good. When you get into some of the aftermarket stuff, they tend to, not be quite as high quality. You lose speed and stuff. So.
Gotcha. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate the kind words. All right. Are the stealth charging system compatible with my show, a 2014 225? I'm not
familiar with it. I'm sorry, Johnny. And I don't know if you're running lithiums or anything, if that's what you're going with. But most of the charging systems the battery chargers are going to work. I guess it really depends on what you're charging. So I would say if they're rated for charging AGMs and stuff, then you should be fine.
All right.
I know if you run a lithium battery, you have to have a certain charger to be able to make it work with the show, because it will shut your engine down because the voltage gets too high, and the computer doesn't like that. So it says, sayonara, we're out of here. So most people that are running lithium batteries right now are running, they're either running a PowerPo charge, and I think Ionic batteries company makes one that'll disperse the voltage across all the batteries. So it seems to work as well.
Sorry, I'm trying to look up stealth.
He's looking up stealth battery chargers.
Real quick to see if I can find anything. That's pressure washers. I don't think that's right. All right. No luck. Sorry. Hope.
The main thing is making sure the charger is compatible with the battery you're using. So, because some chargers don't support AGMs, and a lot of them definitely don't support lithium batteries. So, if you put a lead acid battery charger on a AGM, it's going to kill it like in a year.
Okay.
And then if you put it on a lithium battery, it's going to kill it, in 6 months.
So, I guess so that I can put it in my understanding. It's got more to do with the battery and the chargers, and the motor's really kind of not necessarily a piece of that.
Most of the time, unless it has some kind of way of bringing that voltage and then dispersing it again throughout, the other batteries, or if you're using a lithium battery charger. So there's a lot that comes into play with that stuff nowadays, strangely enough.
Yeah, well, and it seems to be escalating quickly. Yeah. Seems like we always get battery questions these days. All right. Well, here's one. Guys, if you got some more questions, thanks so much for those of you that have already chimed in. I'm going to throw this up there. There's a story behind the Skeeters having trouble porpoising at slower speeds on plane. Is it a design issue, operator error? I'm just wondering because I'm looking to buy a new bass boat and seeing quite a few posts online. And he says that he's weighing in at 380 pounds. So he's a pretty big guy.
Well, I found that a lot of the porpoising issues is when somebody's been running, say if they're running 5,500 RPMs or whatever full speed, and they want to, cruise over here and look at something, they'll just chop the throttle back and run 35 RPMs, and it's just going to sit there. But most boats are going to do that. And what I always tell them to do is before you start coming off of, your speed like that, start trimming the motor down first.
Gotcha.
And if you trim the motor down first, it makes it to where that doesn't even start. Once it starts, it's hard to get it out, especially when it's, a real big porpoise.
Yeah.
But if you just come off the throttle and run 3,500 RPMs on just about any boat, it's going to porpoise. And that can be exacerbated by the type of boat that you're running. So once it starts, if you start trimming it down after the fact, it's probably not going to fix the situation until you get on down the river even further. So my advice to people is if you want to come down off RPM and cruise at a lower speed just to check fishing spots out, is to go ahead and start trimming the motor down before you start slowing down. and that'll keep the nose down so it doesn't go into a porpoise.
Yeah, I guess there's no real reason to keep that trim high at a slower speed.
No, I mean you're not losing a lot of efficiency at low speed.
All right. Well, hope that helps. I can't remember who asked that question. And I'm not seeing any other questions jumping in, and I'm sorry, but I will. I had some technical issues to get everything set up, so I didn't get to jump into more of the forums and see what other questions are going on out there. One thing that I did think about, as in that question about the guy shopping for a used Skeeter.
Okay.
We'll do a quick follow up here. Regular lead acid batteries supposed to charge on the run.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I don't see an issue. I haven't heard any issues with the charge on the run battery, so you should be fine.
So somebody that may be getting in as we're going into the winter months and all that kind of stuff, looking at buying a used boat, and I guess kind of along the lines of the trade checks that we do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell folks to look for when they're going out and they're looking at boats?
Well, my biggest thing is I know I've had a lot of buddies, and I tell them the same thing every time, and then a lot of times they don't listen to me, which is fine. I'm nothing special, but I always get the compression check. I always check the foot. If you got water in the foot, it's going to kill it. And a lot of people don't. Even the guy that's selling you the boat, he may not know there's water in the foot, and he may have took it out last weekend and wrapped some fishing line around it and filled the gear case up with water. And he's none the wiser. But once you buy it from him,
it's your problem.
It's your problem. He's not obligated to do anything about it. And as far as we go, I mean, we give a 30-day warranty on the engine, and we don't really cover a lot of boat stuff because it's a used boat. But the engine itself, if something happens, get it good and warmed up, and then and heck, I even tell people, I said, once you get it good and hot, just come off a plane, act like you're fishing for 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
And then go run it some more, because that's another thing, especially on like older 0866 Yamahas. They don't start showing a problem until the motor's heat soaked, and then you find out it's got a bad computer.
All right.
Stuff like that. Or when you give it gas, it goes dead. Or you get up on a plane and it just goes dead. So.
All right.
And sometimes it's hard. I mean, it's hard to find all this stuff, and it's hard for us to find. We don't find out until after we've sold the boat. And the guys, well, I've had this boat out for 2 hours, and now it's doing this weird stuff. It's like, well, it's hard to take every boat out.
Yeah, you can't go out for 2 hours.
But if you're a consumer dealing with, an individual buyer, you have a little bit more discretion to go do that sometimes.
Well, and especially with what used boats are bringing on the market these days, this is a pretty sizable investment, and hopefully everybody understands if you're trying to sell that, you want to make sure that thing isn't good. Anything else, boat-wise, fiberglass-wise?
Look at the bottom. Look at the bottom of the boat. You can usually tell how well somebody took care of their boat by looking at the bottom of it. If it's got, 300, 400 scratches all over the bottom, then they're, it was getting in there deep.
You got any rule of thumb? We'll stick with the bass boat world, but any kind of rule of thumb on engine hours and how you think about engine hours? What scares you? What?
Yeah, I mean, if you get, and a lot of that, I've had boats coming here, and people want to trade them in, and it was like a 2012 that had 800 hours on a Yamaha on a Skeeter that never had a power head before. And I usually shy away from those on trade-in.
Right.
Not to say that they didn't take good care of it.
Right.
And didn't service it, but I've got to invest a lot of money in that boat, and it may be on its last leg and be gone. But there's a difference there, though. Like I know a lot of people that's brought in boats to me that's had 800 hours on it, and they had a power head 200 hours ago. I'm not scared of that boat.
Gotcha.
Because that's the main part of the engine, so it's got a lot of life left in it. So that's the biggest thing. And then, like if Optimax, if it's got 800,000 hours on it, and that's all on the original power head, you have to that thing's kind of It may not be dead. It may not blow up. It might not have any issues, but it's
Certainly
definitely been
worth factoring
yeah,
into the price
yeah.
you're going to pay.
And a lot of times we can look, we can do a scope on the cylinders and stuff and tell if it's ever been rebuilt or if it's in good shape. Because typically the cross hatches are worn down, and you can tell when it's kind of towards the end.
All right.
But
well, I know we get those questions on the sales side. You get some boats in here with one of the. I'd like to hear your perspective on, let's say, the 8-year-old boat that's got, 92 hours on that motor.
And you have to be careful with that too, because how long did they fish like I did when I owned my boat? I'd run a mile and I'd fish over here for 6 hours. Which is not necessarily bad for the boat as long as it gets run every now and then. Every time I went to the river, I ran it, but I just didn't put 10 hours on it. And so I'd have 4 hours in a year on the boat sometimes because I fished over here and I ran over there and I fished. And I didn't really care to run 10, 20 miles to a fishing hole. I just went into that. But as long as it's been run and maintained during that time, it's not a big deal. But if a guy fished once a year and put an hour on there, you may want some service work done to it before before you take it and give it all it's got.
All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for the questions. Hopefully you got something out of it. And I guess there's nothing left to do but say we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Yeah. And appreciate it. If you come up with more questions, drop it in the comments. I try to pull them out and
answer all
get
the
them in.
questions.
Yes.
All of them. Well, they don't have any.
Hey, we're done. Nobody else has any questions out there, so glad we could be of service. So, guys, y'all have a great afternoon. Enjoy this beautiful time of year, some beautiful weather. Hopefully you get to spend some of it out on the water.